Evan lived an unremarkable life. A quiet, lonely apartment. A dull job pushing papers. His only company was the faint hum of the city outside his window. He didn't mind the solitude. He preferred it. But loneliness has a way of whispering to you in the quiet. It all started with a mirror. He found it in a dusty antique shop, tucked behind a stack of old furniture. Tall and elegant, its frame twisted like the blackened roots of a tree. The glass wasn't smooth. It shimmered, dark and rippling, like a pool of ink. Something about it called to him, pulled to him, a deep itch in his mind he couldn't scratch. The strange shopkeeper grinned at him from behind the counter, and when Evan offered to buy it, the shopkeeper practically gave it away. At first, it was just a mirror. Evan hung it in his bedroom, admiring how it made the space feel much larger. But soon, he noticed things. The reflection wasn't quite right. A half-second delay when he moved. A flicker of motion behind him that wasn't there when he turned around. He told himself it was nothing, just his mind playing tricks. He stopped looking at it altogether, but the mirror didn't stop looking at him. One night, unable to sleep, he scrolled forums on strange artifacts, hoping for reassurance. He found a thread buried deep in an occult forum. A user named Nox Tenebrae replied, "It's not a mirror, it's a doorway, and something is already looking back. Beware the mirror man." The user warned him, "Whatever you do, don't acknowledge it. The reflection wants to be seen. If you see it, it sees you." One night, Evan woke to the sound of glass tapping. The mirror's surface rippled like water disturbed by a stone. His reflection stared back, but it wasn't him anymore. Slightly twisted, slightly different. It smiled, but Evan wasn't smiling. It looked at him, slowly, wrong. Its head tilted too far to the side, like a curious animal observing its prey. Then it began to step forward. The glass didn't shatter, it stretched, swallowing the figure. His reflection crawled out, bone-thin, hollow-eyed, wearing his skin like a loose suit. It grinned wider than any human should be able to.
"You took too long, Evan,"
it said. Evan awoke in his bed, and the days after seemed to blur. The reflection didn't replace him. It followed him around the room, stalking from the edges of mirrors, windows, puddles, always watching, always there. Evan stopped looking at reflective surfaces altogether, but it learned. It appeared in places that normally didn't reflect very well. The black screen of his phone, his car's windshield at night, and others' pupils when he made eye contact with them. He tried to break the mirror, but the shards only made more reflections, more places for it to watch. Becoming desperate, Evan messaged the forum user Nox Tenebrae again. "It's not trying to kill you. It's trying to become you. Reflections are parasites. They mimic until you believe they're you, and then you're the reflection. You have to pull it back somehow. Make it cross fully over. Only then can you break it. Evan stared at the mirror, his heart pounding. His reflection stared back, head twitching. It raised its hand, waving slowly, mockingly.
See you soon, Evan.
Evan waited until nightfall. He lit candles, hoping the flickering light would distort the reflections. His hands shook as he stared into the glass. The reflection only grinned wider. It mouthed the words silently, over and over. Let me in. Panicked, Evan grabbed the frame. The surface rippled under his touch, wet and cold. He pulled on it hard. The mirror groaned, glass stretching like skin. The reflection thrashed, clawing at his wrists with 2 long fingers. Its grin never wavered. It wasn't smiling anymore. Now it was baring its teeth. It spoke, and this time the sound came from behind him, too.
Who's the reflection now?
It asked. Evan pulled even harder. The thing came free with a wet, tearing sound. The mirror hit the floor, convulsing. For a moment, it looked exactly like him. His face, his eyes, his fear. Then it melted, skin sloughing off like wax, leaving something pale and eyeless, gasping like a dying fish. Then Evan smashed the mirror. The thing within screamed, a sound that came from nowhere and everywhere all at once. The shards shivered and blackened, rotting to ash. Then the room fell silent. Evan burned the remains of the mirror in his sink, watching the ash swirl down the drain. That night he slept soundly for the first time in days. No tapping, no whispers, no grins from nearby reflections. But he still didn't look into reflective surfaces for weeks to come. It wasn't until he passed a storefront window that he saw it again. His reflection smiled. Not wrong, not broken, just a normal, tired man's smile. But his reflection didn't blink when he did, and it watched him walk away. Evan never spoke of the mirror. He moved to a new apartment, changed jobs, even grew a beard to avoid seeing his old face. But he never forgot Nox Tenebre's last message. If it gets out, it's never truly gone. It learns, and it waits. He doesn't sleep much anymore, and sometimes, late at night, when the room is too quiet, he swears he hears the tapping of the Mirror Man. That concludes this installment of Night Theater. I'm Christopher Ryan, and remember, never watch alone.